Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to another installment of Scott's Selections here Tuesday, July 2nd. Before we get into the play of the day, we'll quickly recap what happened yesterday. We had no play of the day in terms of baseball, as we ended up just giving out some leans. However, if you did watch the tennis video that we did pick up a nice win there at minus 125, so we were able to bring you some profit early this morning. But with that being said, there's definitely a lot more games today on Tuesday after a very limited card in baseball yesterday. So, that being said, we're going to dive right into the play of the day, and it will be on a matchup between the Washington Nationals and the Miami Marlins. And for this game, we are going to be leaning towards the Washington Nationals minus a half in the first 5 innings, which is available at JustBet at minus 125. For this matchup, you have Zach Gallen versus Patrick Corbin. Gallen, relative youngster, 23 years old, 0-1 with a 3.6 ERA. However, he literally just pitched against the Nationals in his last start at home, and he went 5 innings while giving up 3 earned runs. Meanwhile, Patrick Corbin, in his last start, also just faced the Marlins, and he was fantastic as he went 7 innings and gave up 1 earned run while striking out 9 over 7 innings. Both bullpens in this matchup are 2 of the worst 3 bullpens in the entire league, so we decided to skip the bullpens entirely. We think that the Nationals definitely have a huge starting pitching advantage, and that is why we like the Nationals to get the job done here in the first 5. We think they're going to come out swinging. Gallen definitely caught the Nationals off guard early, but the Nationals ended up scoring multiple runs in the 6th inning as Gallen eventually ran out of gas. We think the Nationals figured him out, and we think the Nationals will continue to do well the second time that they will face him. Plus, the wind will play a factor in this matchup, as it is supposed to be heavy winds towards right center field at roughly 9 miles an hour. Corbin's more of a ground ball pitcher. We think he will do well in these conditions, and we think that based on the lineups alone, they have been confirmed. We think that the Nationals have a significantly better lineup and should score at least 3 runs by the end of the 5th inning. In terms of lineups, the Nationals are going to be rolling out with Trey Turner in order. Trey Turner leading off, Adam Eaton, Rendon, Soto, Kendrick, Zimmerman, Robles, Gomez, and Corbin, whereas Miami will be rolling out with Rojas, Ramirez, Cooper, Anderson, Castro, Walker, Alfaro, Puello, and Gallen. Needless to say, the Nationals definitely have the better lineup in this matchup. And Corbin has also been unhittable at home this season, as his record in Nationals Park is 4-1 with a 2.17 ERA. And in just his numbers against the Marlins, in 16 innings pitched, he has a whopping .56 ERA against the Marlins. They simply can't hit him, and I definitely think that a minus 125 here in the first 5, minus a half, I think there's a lot of value there. Plus, the Nationals will be getting their 5 at-bats as opposed to the full game, in which if they're up after 8, they will just simply not have to hit in the 9th. So, with that being said, the play of the day will be on the Washington Nationals minus a half against the Miami Marlins, which is available at minus 125 at JustBet at time of recording of 3:26 Eastern Time on Tuesday, July 2nd. Now, we're going to quickly dive into the rest of the leans for today's card. You have a matchup between the Cubs and the Pirates with Hendricks versus Musgrove. Lean to the Cubs there. Cubs got embarrassed yesterday, but Hendricks is definitely a much better pitcher. And I definitely think that Musgrove has struggled over the last couple of months. Honestly, ever since his ejection against Donaldson, he's kind of fallen off. But Hendricks is definitely a great pitcher, and I will lean to the Cubs in that one. Moving on, you have the Red Sox versus the Blue Jays with Price versus Thornton. Lean to the over 9.5 there. The Blue Jays offense has been fantastic lately, and so is Boston's. Plus, Boston's bullpen's been a mess. I think that Price will struggle a little. Bryce has great numbers against Toronto in his career, but once he turns the ball over to the bullpen with the likes of Barnes, maybe Walden, one of those people in the bullpen, I simply just don't trust them. And I think that Toronto should be able to score at least 4 to 5 runs in this game, and I think Boston should be able to score at least 6 runs against Thornton, so I will lean to the over 9.5 there. Moving on, you have the Rays versus the Orioles with a new pitcher pitching for the Orioles in, I got to try to pronounce this here, Wojciechowski, who they actually just acquired from the Cleveland Indians, who's been a minor leaguer pretty much his entire career, but in the majors, he has an ERA above 6. Not a great pitcher by any means. He will be going up against Charlie Morton, who has been fantastic this season, sub 2.5 ERA. In terms of this game, I'd have to lean to the under 9. I'd have to lean to the Orioles team total under, and I'd have to lean to the Rays minus either 1.5 or just in general minus half in the first 5. I think the Rays are going to put the beat down on the Orioles today, and I think that Baltimore's bullpen is a little bit concerning for taking the under in the full game, but I really don't see how Baltimore is going to be scoring more than 3 runs in this game, especially with the way that Tampa's pitched out of the bullpen, including Morton this entire season. Lean to the Orioles team total under there. I think they're going to end up being held to 2 runs, which should bode well for the full game under as well. Moving on, you have the Brewers versus the Reds. In terms of this game, I'd lean to the over 10.5, but I'd personally pass. Rourke has been underrated this season. He's 5-6, but his ERA is roughly 3.33, so he has been very solid. Meanwhile, Anderson has been pretty good overall, but he has struggled in his last couple of starts. And overall, I'd lean to the Reds, even though they lost yesterday. But in terms of totals, I think that Anderson's going to struggle. I think Rourke will struggle a little bit. I will lean to the over as a result. Moving on, you have the Yankees versus the Mets with Paxton versus Wheeler in Citi Field. Money's poured in on the Mets. Yankees open up at minus 160, down to roughly minus 140, and the total's been bet down from 9.5 to 9. There's no way I'm taking the Mets here. I know Paxton has been pretty inconsistent, and I know that he has struggled against the Mets so far this season, but Wheeler's been inconsistent as well, despite a solid performance against the Phillies in last week. But overall, I'd have to lean to the Yankees team total over here. The Yankees simply just can't stop hitting the ball. Can't stop, won't stop. They just keep crushing it. And now that they're on the road, they will be getting a guaranteed 9 at-bats. Not to mention the fact that if you look at the actual weather conditions for this game, wind shouldn't really play a factor. I know that it will feel like it's 90 degrees, so it should be pretty hot. I think that the Yankees will be able to hit a couple home runs against Wheeler. Plus the Mets, I can only imagine how poorly this Mets bullpen is going to perform once they have to face the Yankees lineup after the 6th inning. So if the Yankees are losing at some point in the first 5, you could easily live bet them to win the game, knowing the Mets bullpen and their ineptitude. But I think that the Yankees team total over makes a lot of sense, and I think that they should be able to get there by roughly the 7th or 8th inning. So that will be my main lean to the over. Moving on, you have the Phillies versus the Braves with Pivetta versus Keuchel. Pivetta's actually been decent over his last couple of starts. Keuchel was pretty good against the Cubs in his last start, but for me, I'm going to lean to the over 10 here. Keuchel's a solid pitcher. Pivetta, I'm still not a huge fan of. But overall, both teams have very solid lineups, very poor bullpens. And I simply think that Nola is a very solid pitcher, but I think that the Braves will get to him early and often. And that will be my main thought on that one. So I will lean to the over in that game. And I'll also have a small lean to the Phillies. Well, in a second. Sorry, I see conflicting information. One site says Pivetta is going to be starting. The other site says Keuchel is going to be starting. So let me actually confirm who's going to be starting here. Because it's supposed to be okay. It's supposed to be Nola. So everything I said about Pivetta, just ignore. For Nola, he's been very solid this season, but the Braves are still a fantastic offense, particularly at home. And I could see Nola struggling early and often. I still lean to the over. But overall, it's definitely not as set in stone now that Nola is supposed to be on the mound instead of Pivetta. So sorry about that, but one of the sites I use for lines on today's card, SBR odds, is simply just inaccurate when it comes to the Phillies starting pitcher today. So sorry about that. We're going to keep moving on. You have the Angels versus the Rangers. Fortunately, this is the game that had to be made up from yesterday, as yesterday's game was postponed due to the sudden death of Skaggs, starting pitcher for the Angels, who passed away due to what appears to be natural causes yesterday. Damn shame. He was in his late 20s, and it's a shame to see anybody like that, especially a pro athlete, just pass away. And from what I've heard from Angels personnel and some media guys, he was a great person. So sorry for their loss. Sorry for prayers to the family, as Skaggs will be missed. But in terms of this game, you have Suarez versus Minor. I would lean to the Angels here. I know Minor's been great, and I don't want to draw that much from the death of somebody. I don't want to turn that into a betting handicap, but I have to assume the Angels will come out emotionally invested in this game and try to win one for their fallen comrade. So I will lean to the Angels there. But overall, I mean, I don't really want to handicap that game whatsoever, but that would be my main thought. Moving on, you have the Tigers versus the White Sox. with Boyd versus Lopez. Lean to the Tigers here. I know that the White Sox have been the much better team lately, but Boyd's still the ace of the Tigers staff, and Lopez has still been awful the entire season. So I will lean to the Tigers on that one. Moving on, you have the Rockies versus the Astros. Totals at a whopping 13. In terms of that, I won't touch it in terms of the Astros because of the fact that I actually love Marquez as a pitcher. And I think that if there's anybody who will be able to stop an opposing offense in Coors Field for the Rockies, it would be Marquez. However, I think that your Kindy will struggle today. Your Kitty, I think he'll struggle in his first start in Coors Field in his career. So I personally will lean to the Rockies team total over. I think it'll be very high, but I definitely think that the Rockies will get to him early and often. And I think that the first 5 team total also makes a lot of sense. So I will lean to the Rockies over in that one, but I will lean to the Rockies on the full game at -124. Moving on, you have the Indians versus the Royals with Bauer versus Junis. Mondesi finally back in the lineup for the Royals to provide some much-needed pop to the lineup. However, Bauer has definitely been a much better pitcher than Junis has been this season. Bauer 6-6 with a 3.55 ERA. Junis is 4-7 with a 5.23 ERA. In terms of this game, I still lean to the Indians, and I still would lean to the over. I think Mondesi's return definitely helps the over, as it should help the Royals score a couple of more runs, because I really think Mondesi is that good at the plate, especially as a switch hitter. But for me, I'll lean to the Indians and the over. Moving on, you have the Twins versus the A's with Odorizzi versus Mangden. I have to lean to the Twins here. Odorizzi's been the best pitcher on the Twins this season by far, and Mangden so far is 2-1 with a slightly above 4 ERA. But at the end of the day, he's not a starter in the AL. He's simply a fringe starter at best, and I definitely think that he will be getting exposed in this matchup. I think the Twins will go yard on him a couple of times, and I think that Odorizzi will do a pretty good job stifling this A's offense. So I will lean to the Twins, and I will lean to the over in that game, as I think you should see a decent amount of runs. Moving on, you have the next matchup, which is between the Giants and the Padres with Beatty versus Strom. Lean to the Padres here. I know at -149, it might seem like a decent size, favorite here, but Beatty's been that bad as a starter this season. I know he was great in college at Vanderbilt, and I get that, but so far this season, he is 1-3 with a 6.45 ERA. Strom 3-6 with a 4.94 ERA, but I overall just like the way the Padres have played lately. I know they ended up getting blown out yesterday, but the Padres are the better team. They've been decent at home. Giants have been pretty awful on the road. And I will lean to the Padres in that one as a small lean there. And I'll also lean to the over. Moving on, you have the Diamondbacks versus the Dodgers with Clark versus Stripling. Lean to the over 9 here. I know Stripling's been decent so far this season, but the Diamondbacks have actually played well against the Dodgers offensively. Dodgers are 34-9 at home, so I'm not going to be touching the side at all. But I could definitely see the Dodgers offense getting after Clark, who's 2-3 with a 6.1 ERA. Stripling's been good this year, but I think the Diamondbacks will get to him, so I will lean to the over in that one. And the last game on the card is between the Cardinals and the Mariners with Flaherty versus Caracidi, and I will lean to the Cardinals there. Flaherty, I overall just think is a solid pitcher. I know he's better at home than he is on the road, but the Cardinals are the better team. Caracidi's a relative unknown. He's currently, he's going to just be the opener for LeBlanc. I don't really like LeBlanc either, but for me, I'll lean to the Cardinals. I think they are the better overall team. But the play of the day, as I said before, will be on the Washington Nationals, -0.5 in the first 5, which is available at -125 at JustBet. Before we conclude today's video, quick reminder of our sponsor, PointsBet, online sportsbook in New Jersey. Great deals for you, up to 2 risk-free bets up to $1,000. So if you end up betting twice, you bet $1,000 on 2 separate games that you think are pretty much locks, and they turn out to lose. You do not have to worry about rebuilding your bankroll, as you will get your money back risk-free, guaranteed. So definitely a great deal. I wish more sportsbook would do that, but PointsBet is one of the only books that I know that actually does that as a promo. But with that being said, that's going to do it for this installment of Scott Selections here for Tuesday, July 2nd. Stay tuned later today for the tennis selections video, which should be coming out in a couple of hours. So stay tuned for that. But that being said, good luck to all of you and your respective bets today. Bye, everyone.